to dress up and run around the house. But that wasn't drag. For Halloween, I put on costumes. But that wasn't drag either. But there were some times when no one was watching that I would take a skirt. In the 70s, they were long, and they had a lot of elastic around the waist. And I would put it on my head, and I would flip my hair like this, like Cher. And I would strut around, and I would lip sync to my favorite music on the radio. That, my beloveds, was drag. Today is Easter. It is also Trans Day of Visibility, which always falls on March 31st. These two holidays will not align again until 2086. So it felt like a total waste not to explore the freeing transformation that these 2 days share today. Now, just to be clear, our trans siblings are not people living in drag. They are just trying to be their beautiful, holy, authentic selves. But they do share the courage to go against society's binary gender restrictions. They share the commitment to be fiercely who they are. We celebrate you all today and acknowledge to the world that you are whole and holy. We honor you by introducing ourselves, not just today, but every day with our pronouns, so that you don't have to be the only one in the room to do that. We cheer you on as you battle the legislature, the medical system, the lack of understanding and religious trauma that abounds. And we have your beautiful, sacred, slaying backs. Now, part of the Christian story of Easter is the transfiguration of Jesus. How many of you know this story? Okay, there's a few that have some history here. Before his crucifixion, Jesus went up on a mountain with 3 of his closest friends, Peter, James, and John. While they were there, Jesus went through a remarkable change of appearance. His face shone brightly, and his clothes were transformed to a dazzling white, and he was glowing on that mountaintop. And then, out of nowhere, 2 other figures from the Bible, Moses and Elijah, showed up with him, and they had a conversation. It was as if they were to prove the company that he shared. In this Christian story, it was a moment of showing Jesus' true nature, in this case, as the Son of God. It was a glimpse into his divine glory. Now I'm going to retell the story in drag terms. Girl, it was mind-blowing. Here's the tea. So Yahweh, he had a kiki, and he put on a sickening extravaganza that slayed the kids with awe and wonder. Picture this. Jesus serving divine realness atop a mountain suddenly shines under the brightest of spotlights, outshining even the most bedazzled queen on the runway. His face illuminated with a fierce glow that could blind a disco ball. The disciples who were serving as the ultimate hype queens can hardly handle all the realness. They are gagged, speechless, and probably dropping their jaws faster than a drag queen drops a sickening lip sync. And then, just as you think it couldn't get any fiercer, Moses and Elijah, serving up major celestial realness, show up for a divine cameo, chatting it up with Jesus like they're the original drag legends of biblical history. It was a transformation so fierce that it had everyone screaming, "Yes, Queen!" Can I hear a "Yes, Queen"?
Yes, Queen!
I mean, isn't transfiguration just first century drag? Father Nathan Monk, a former Catholic priest and liberal religious blogger, now has some thoughts about transfiguration, especially related to trans identities. He says, if we are both perfect as we are, why did Jesus need to be transfigured? Shouldn't he have just been happy with not glowing? If God wanted him to shine, why wasn't he born an orb of light? The entire point of the gospel is that we are made new, made whole, and we become ourselves transfigured into the person of our destiny. So I just don't understand why transformation and becoming the person we are intended to be isn't a sacred act in Christianity. In drag culture, it is. This transformation is intentional, divine, and glorious. Performers undergo a metamorphosis, transcending their everyday identities to embody extravagant, vibrant personas. Not just everyday dressing up, but over-the-top transformations that stun and awe. RuPaul, a prominent figure in drag culture and the host of the popular reality show that I feel is going to get a bump after this service in viewership, describes drag as the art of self-expression, liberation, and transformation. But we know that drag is more than just putting on fabulous outfits and makeup. It's about tapping into your inner power, embracing your true self, and fearlessly expressing yourself to the world. It's a form of creative liberation, a way to break free from societal norms and expectations. Whether drag artists are into pageants, impersonations, or over-the-top camp personas, drag allows its participants to transform themselves into larger-than-life characters, to explore different facets of their personalities, and to celebrate the beauty and diversity of human expression. It's about finding the courage that we all want to shine brightly and inspire others to do the same. RuPaul says, drag is not just what we do, it's who we are. The first reference to drag was in the 1300s, but it became more relevant in the 1800s as first seen in a police blotter, of course. But the term actually came from the 1500s and 1600s in the Elizabethan theater world, where women weren't allowed to be on stage. Yes, it grew out of misogyny. Surprise. So therefore, cis men played women's roles and dragged their dresses and petticoats around the stage. That's where the term drag comes from. Drag kings also came from that era, with the British pantomime genre that had cis women playing both female and male parts. One of the famous drag queens from our history is William Dorsey Swan, who was born in 1858. Swan was born a slave in Maryland and was freed as a child. He organized the first drag balls in Washington, D.C., and was the first documented case of being arrested for performing in drag. But he was also the first American activist who took legal action to fight for the rights of the queer community. From Swan's balls came the drag ball culture starting in the 1920s, which found its groove during the Harlem Renaissance. Please note that all of this came from Black queer culture. The Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, which some of you may remember from my installation, were founded 45 years ago this week and were another activist movement in drag. Now, like anything, drag isn't perfect. There has been plenty of controversy, and Mama Ru herself has had to deal with issues around transphobia, racism, classism, and environmental issues of fracking on his own personal ranch. As many things in society, the drag scene has been dominated by men performing as women, while there are also incredibly talented female, trans, and non-binary performers who don't get the same recognition. Sometimes the line between shade and mean is pretty thin. But drag has so many other qualities as we as a society can aspire to learn from, and we keep trying to be better, as drag does too. Some of the qualities that I want to lift up, one is the power of community. Drag is nothing if not a community. There are drag families that often replace performers' real families, with drag mothers and siblings to show the way, to keep each other safe, and pass on generational knowledge. The whole exploration of the fluidity of gender. In drag, pronouns are just kind of happenstance. Someone can be a he in one moment, she in another, and queen or king can apply to anyone. Some can argue that drag can't exist without gender, and others could say that gender doesn't matter in drag. And I would make the case that both could be right. The whole point of drag is gender subversion. To have fun with gender expression in a way that liberates us all from the restrictions that it creates. Drag has both reflected the queer society and paved the way for it to be more gender expansive and liberating. And the third quality is being unapologetically, magnificently yourself. It's about being over the top and not making a single damn apology for it. It's about being celebrated for being too loud, too sparkly, and too fabulous. Is it any wonder that the religious right is losing their freaking minds over drag? It breaks all of their societal roles. It has been said that the gay liberation, the march to marriage equality, the championing of transgender rights, it has all been the fastest societal change in history. Even some in this room are trying to keep up with how fast it has changed in our lifetime. For some, it has been too fast. For some, it hasn't been fast enough. And it does threaten many parts of the conservative Christian so-called family values, which is mostly about patriarchy, the man being the head of the household, the female being subservient, and clear lines between those gender roles. Drag inherently turns all of that on its heels. So therefore, it is portrayed as deviant and threatening, as if I didn't need another reason to love it. To be clear, supporting drag as an art form is a way to support our values of inclusiveness, acceptance, and radical love. Supporting a drag queen story time at a library is a way to show our children that all self-expression is beautiful. Embracing drag is one way to show our trans children that there is welcome space for them to be their full, beautiful selves. Having a community here says to teenagers, come, explore. You are safe and welcome here. Supporting drag is a radical act of our progressive values, and I am here for it. So while Christians today are celebrating the resurrection of Christ with the transfiguration of proof of his divinity, we are looking to be more expansive than that. For us, transfiguration can have wider possibilities for expanding our understanding of both identity and divinity. For us, Jesus' messages of love, acceptance, and transformation are available to anyone, whether you believe he is the Son of God or not. We, my beloveds, are the people of liberation and empowerment. We all have the potential to be transformed. And we all are divine, holy, and fierce, however we show up in the world. So might it be.